All right, welcome everybody. I'm Lori Cohen. I am one of the school counselors at the high school, and I'm the coordinator of the department, and I'm joined by my colleague, Dr. Ann Trandor. We are
Everyone.
2 of 6 counselors who are part of the Cheltenham counseling staff. So thanks for joining us tonight. We're going to spend about an hour going over what should be happening as your seniors getting ready to apply to college. So hard to believe they're seniors. They started the start of their high school career a little shaky with COVID, but we've made it, and we're looking forward to a great year for your gang. So I wanted to introduce the counseling department, and these are the 6 counselors we have, and in parentheses are the last names of the students that we work with. So you will see Mrs. Vargas is A through last name Dan, DePiro, DAO to HAY, and so forth. Please be aware, if you do have Mrs. Vargas as your student's counselor, she is currently out for a few weeks, and she's going to be covered by Mr. Spentley Turan. So your students are still having someone available to work with them and to assist them however they need. And hopefully by now your students know who their counselors are, but this is just for your reference. So tonight's agenda is pretty simple, although a lot of information to give tonight. Please be aware that this PowerPoint presentation will be available online after we are finished. In addition, the video recording of the meeting will also be posted. So if you need to go back to it, or if you need to jump off and leave early, you'll be able to come back and watch it. As you can see on your screen, there is a section for question and answers. As I am doing my talking, if you have a question that jumps out, instead of waiting till the end, feel free to type it, and Dr. Trandor will answer it, and we will go from there. So tonight we're going to be covering what kids should be doing as seniors. We're going to really be focusing on Naviance and how to match Common App and FERPA, and I'm going to explain what all that means. We're going to talk about the actual application process, and I'm going to do something real quick about financial aid and scholarships, but we do have 2 other evening nights available for financial aid that hopefully you'll be able to join us for. So what your guys should be doing now. Hopefully they have spent the summer doing some of their college work. We had a nice turnout for our application boot camps in August. So if your kids joined us for that, we're glad we were able to help them and give them that opportunity. What we are hoping is that your students know where they're going to be applying for the most part. We're going to spend most of the night talking about how to apply, although I will do a few little slides about the process itself before the application. One thing you want to do is find a system that works for you and your student. So that can involve anything from spreadsheets to folders for each of the schools, but you really do need to keep yourselves organized. There are lots of different deadlines, lots of different moving parts to the application that you want to make sure you're not missing anything for. As we always tell our kids at Cheltenham, college is a different beast than the high school. And so if you miss a deadline, unfortunately, colleges are not going to be as understanding and forgiving as perhaps the high school teachers have been. Whereby if you miss an application deadline, they may not take your application in for you. So really focus on deadlines and when things are due. Kids, we really need you to focus on your grades and attendance. And just so parents know, we are going to be setting up over the next week or 2 at times to present to our seniors this information as well. So if students are on here now, you'll be hearing this again, but lots of information, so it's good to hear it a second time. But we want students to focus on their grades and attendance. You might think you're a senior, it doesn't matter, but it does matter. So colleges will be getting a record of at least your first semester grades, and at the end of the school year, we will send your transcript to the college that you decide ultimately that you're going to be attending. So you don't want colleges to see a major dip in your grades and attendance. College representative visits. So we have a decent number of college reps that come to Cheltenham High School, whether they come in person or if they come via Zoom. Those things are available on Naviance. Students, you should have gotten some emails about them. And I believe Ms. Sutherland, our secretary, sent an email explaining the process. They are being added on a daily basis, so make sure you're checking in Naviance. These are really great opportunities for you to hear and learn about colleges, especially if you haven't had the chance to go and visit the school. Please be aware that the reps that come to Cheltenham are typically the people who are actually reviewing your application. So it's really nice time to get some face-to-face time with the representative, kind of put a name to the application for them, and maybe something you ask or say stands out and it can help you along the way. So if you're interested in those, we highly encourage you to do that. The other thing you guys could be doing now is visiting campuses, doing some information sessions and tours. Very easy to do. You simply log on to a college's website. You can just Google Temple University Visit. You'll see a big button that says Visit. Click on that. It'll take you to a calendar where you'll be able to sign up for tours and information sessions. Especially if colleges are close by, it's highly recommended that you do this. Many colleges document what we call demonstrated interest. So they notice if you have visited and take note if you visited the school. So if you have two students who are interested in the same college and very similar statistics, but one has visited and one has not, college might be more inclined to accept the one who visited because they know if you've seen the campus and you're still applying, you're interested in their school. Now, having said that, if it's a school that is far away and you'd have to fly to, or it would be a major inconvenience, they will understand that option as well. So that's okay to do. One thing I do recommend is doing the college visits, because as you look at these college websites, you're going to keep in mind that they are designed and created by marketing employees. And so they're always going to look beautiful. Every picture you see is going to have a beautiful sunny sky. You're going to see kids outside. Make sure you go to campus and get the true picture. I always recommend spending some time in the student cafeteria if possible, or in the student union or student center, just to check out the student body and see if your student feels like they would be comfortable visiting and being there for 4 years. Kids, we want you to be aware, social media, colleges are absolutely, some colleges are absolutely spying on you or checking on you on social media. Obviously, bigger schools, Penn State, Pitt, Temple don't have the resources to do all of the applications. But if you're applying to some of the smaller schools, there's a good chance that they are doing some vetting of you via your social media accounts. Students, you need to realize that nothing is private. They can purchase tools that will allow them to get behind privacy walls. Remember, anything on the internet is public, so make sure that anything you've posted is appropriate, pictures and word content. We typically recommend that you apply to anywhere from 4 to 8 colleges. We have had students in the past who have applied to 25 colleges, and we've had students in the past who have applied to just 1 college. But we find the average tends to be about 8 colleges. It used to be a little less. We're creeping up closer to the 8 range in the 4 to 8. Recognize that college applications cost money. Each one is anywhere from $75 to $100. So 20 college applications can be very, very expensive. You want to make sure you have a range of schools. So we're looking at target schools. Those are schools that fit your GPA. And if you are using scores, that's that range. What we call safety schools or likely schools. These are schools that your averages are slightly higher than their averages. So they are probably very likely that you will be accepted. And then we have the dream schools or the reach schools. And these are schools where your averages are slightly lower than, your scores are slightly lower than their averages. You want to make sure that you have a range of schools in all of those categories. And I will show you a tool that we have later in the presentation that can help you in that process. If you are using SATs or ACT scores, most of the colleges are expecting you to send them directly to the college. We do not include scores on our transcripts. So that is your responsibility to send scores to college if you need to. Just as a note on the SATs, the majority of colleges in the country are still test optional, which means you can apply without any penalty to not sending in your test scores. So they will not penalize you, they will not treat you negatively if you don't send your scores. So if you are a student who is a strong student, a hard worker, likes to challenge yourself, but for some reason you just don't test well and your scores don't fit in the college's averages, you probably should not send them. You want to look at the most recent averages that a college publishes that shows them. And if you are not on the upper end of their average range, don't send the scores. If you are not sure about that, please reach out to your counselor and we can advise you with looking at your whole package with the GPA and the classes you've taken and extracurriculars and your scores and kind of guide you into whether or not you should use your scores. But if you haven't taken college SATs yet or ACTs, don't panic. You can apply to college and be accepted to many great schools from the Ivy Leagues all the way down without having scores. So nothing to panic on that. Naviance is a tool that you're going to become very familiar with. This is where you're going to be requesting your transcripts. You're going to be requesting your letters of recommendation from your teachers, and you're going to be able to track your transcripts and see where they are and if they've been sent and so forth. So we're going to spend a lot of time tonight looking at that. And finally, as a senior, if you are interested in playing Division I or Division II sports in college, you also need to register and apply on the with the NCAA. And that's at this website here, www.eligibilitycenter.org. You have to have a certain grade point average in some 16 core courses, and all of that can be explained on Eligibility Center, but you are not even eligible to be considered until you have applied on that website. So please make sure if you are playing Division I or Division II that you do that. Division III athletes and schools do not need to submit on the Eligibility Center. So I talked a little bit about the college rep visits. Basically, you're going to register on your Naviance account. And you'll get an email that will tell you whether it's in person, and if it's in person, which conference room to go to, or if it's in Zoom, you can come to the conference room, just bring some headphones and you can listen to them that way. Students, we just want you to double check with your teacher that you're okay. If you have a test in that class or you have a presentation, they are entitled to say, no, we don't want you to miss class. Class is important, and that's fine. We want you to prepare questions for the rep. We want you to come in knowledgeable about the college. And please don't ask questions like how many students are at your school, because that's something you can find with a real quick Google. But instead, you might ask questions that aren't so obvious on the website, like what internship opportunities are available for engineering majors, or tell me about your new dorms that you're building, or do you have any co-op experiences that I can do? So look for some really, come prepared with questions. It makes you stand out and look really good in front of the reps' eyes, as they are, as I mentioned, the ones who will be reviewing your application. All right, so what do you have to do to apply to college? First of all, and this goes back to our organization, review their application process and the requirements that every school has. Unfortunately, every school is slightly different. As I said before, make sure you're aware of the deadlines. Do keep in mind that you are applying online. And so if there is a big deadline of November 30th for a college, please do not wait until November 30th at 11:50 at night, because you will be joining perhaps thousands of other students across the country. And we have seen in past years, some sites have crashed because of too much demand. So absolutely work to get your applications in several hours at the very latest before the deadline of the school. We do recommend that you apply to all of your schools by the end of October, or at the very latest, Thanksgiving break is always a nice time to do that. I'll go over some of that as well. There are some college applications, or all college applications are online. You can find out on each college's website what they use. Many schools use what's called the Common App. Some schools just have their own application on their website, and that's what you would fill out. But the Common App is one application where you fill in some basic, your general information, your demographics, your activities. You will upload your personal statement or your essay on that one application. And then you will identify the colleges to which you will be applying. And each college will then have additional questions, and some of them will have additional essays, but you can manage it all in one site on the Common Application. There's also a new app that they're really rolling out this year. It's called the Common Black College app. If you look at that website, you will see that there's a large number of HBCU schools, and you can apply to all of the schools on that thing for one fee of $20. So definitely take a look at that. Not all HBCUs are on there, but there are a large number of them. You should be working on your personal essay with your English teacher this year. They're hopefully all 12th grade English students who have English this semester have been working on it. If not, please look for your emails from Miss Acosta. She's going to be reaching out to students, and they're going to be setting up, once we start our community lunch/lunch and learn, they're going to be setting up times for you to go get assistance from your from English teachers in the school. In terms of the personal essay, it goes without saying, but make sure it's grammatically correct, that spelling is correct, that you are sticking with the word count. So for instance, if it's 650 words, do not send them a 1,000-word essay. First of all, it will be cut off and you will lose the end of the essay, but you also need to make sure that you're following their guidelines. You need to make sure that you are answering specific questions. For instance, if it says, why are you interested in attending the University of Pennsylvania? You want to make sure that you didn't cut and paste an essay from Columbia that talks about wanting to be in New York City. So you want to make sure each question is specific and answered correctly. You want to really work on these essays and show some part of yourself that's not evident from the rest of the application. So this is a really hard essay to write because you don't know who your reader is. So you don't know if they're going to really truly understand your style and your sense of humor, perhaps, and your wit. You also don't have to follow a traditional 5-paragraph essay structure as you would for an English essay. They're looking for your personality to come through. So really spend a lot of time. Some of the questions talk about something you've overcome, or a challenge you've overcome, or a hardship. And hopefully as 17 and 18-year-olds, you haven't had a whole lot of hardship. So sometimes it's hard to find a topic to write about. College reps will tell us very common essay topics can be the game that I helped my team win the state championship, the time I went on a community service trip abroad to help build houses with Habitat for Humanity. My grandfather is my hero. My parents' divorce really impacted me. These are very common topics that colleges see over and over. So you really do want to find something a little unique and interesting. I was working with a student and she wrote an essay about Wordle, and she structured her essay with the 5-letter Wordle words that talked about who she was. And it was very clever. Another essay I have read in the past, worked with a student, was about how she made tuna fish sandwiches every Sunday with her mother for lunch. Like, these topics seem really blah, but if written well, they can show who you are in a very insightful and unique way. So really spend a lot of time on this essay. As I mentioned, you need to be sending your scores to the College Board, from the College Board and ACT services, if they need them. And then we're going to use Naviance to request transcripts and recommendations, and I will teach you how to do that tonight. So just real quickly, just so you understand these different admissions options that we have, there are 4 or 5 different options that colleges utilize, and it should be very clear on the Common App as a choice and on the college's website. But rolling admissions means that colleges will accept applications throughout the year until their class is full, and they will release decisions throughout the admission cycle. So often, especially now when it's still very early, 4 to 6 weeks after completed application, you'll hear a decision. I've had students who have already been accepted to University of Pittsburgh. I've had students been accepted to the University of Arizona so far. So if you are looking at a school with a rolling admissions, the sooner you get that application submitted, the better it's going to be. Regular decision is when the college sets a deadline. You have to apply by this set deadline. Usually it's towards the end of December, beginning of January. Sometimes it's January 1st. They do not review any applications until that deadline. So if you submit it at the last hour, you're going to have as much consideration as somebody who submits it today. And everybody typically receives an admission decision on a set date, and those dates tend to be March or April. But again, you want to make sure that you're not waiting till the very last minute so you don't have computer problems. Then we have our early options. These tend to be used by some of the more competitive schools and some of the private schools. Early action is my favorite. You apply by an early date. It tends to be mid to end of October, and you will hear a decision typically by the middle to end of December. This is a not binding essay or application rather. So, but you get an answer early. So if there's any school that has an early action option, we strongly encourage you to do this one. I know University of Maryland a few years ago, and I don't know if they are this year, but they used to tie their merit money, their scholarship money, and give it only to students who applied by the early action date. So that's another very big reason for applying early action. Some colleges are being a little gray in this area, that they're kind of combining early action and early decision and using what's called restricted early action. It's the same concept as early action. You apply by the early date, you receive the decision early. It is a non-binding decision, so you can still wait and hear from other schools, but you cannot do any other school's early action or early decision. I do know, I believe Yale utilizes restricted early action. And then there's early decision. This is you again apply by the early date, typically mid to end of October, and you receive a decision early, typically December, January. However, this is a binding contract between you and the college. So before you apply early decision, you have to sign off on it. Your parents have to log on and sign something, and your counselor has to log off and sign something saying that you understand the implications of early decision. And what that means is if you are accepted early decision, you tell them that you will absolutely attend their school and you will withdraw all other applications to other colleges. So you might ask, what's the purpose of this? So this is really good for a student who absolutely loves one college and they want to give it a try and they know that's where they want to be. It really does show a college that you're very interested and very committed, and colleges certainly like that. It also will help you. We find that students have slightly better chances of being accepted early decision applications, simply because it's a numbers game, because fewer kids apply. So the competition is not as large as if you were regular admissions. Colleges will tell you that that's not the case, but it absolutely is. Why do colleges do this? So colleges get their rankings and their statistics based on what's called their yield. The yield means the number of students that are accepted versus the number of students that actually attend. And when those numbers are closer aligned, their yield is better. And so an early decision candidate is a guaranteed acceptance and attending, so it works in their favor. So really just have that conversation with your family and your counselor. Now, clearly there's nothing they could do if you break this agreement and you don't accept it. You're not going to be fined. You're not going to be arrested or anything like that. However, please know that colleges do communicate with each other. And so if you do break an early decision contract, they will notify other schools in the same range of schools, and that could negatively impact you. So really think very hard about early decision. All right, so what should you as the student be doing? First of all, you should be completing the release of records form if you have not done so already, and turn it into your counselor or to Mrs. Sutherland in the counseling office. This is giving us permission to send your transcript and your records to the colleges. We cannot do this without your signature. If your student is 18, he or she can sign themselves. Otherwise, we need you as parents to sign this. They are available. It's available. It's been emailed. I emailed it home to all students and parents via Naviance. We have hard copies in the counseling office. So please get them to us as soon as possible. You only have to do it one time. You do not have to do it for every application. Your responsibility is to submit the application to the college with your fee, your essay, if it requires a resume, something like that. Certainly, if you need help with this, by all means, come into us. We spend many days in our fall working with students to help them do their applications and check it and proofread it with them. We're very happy to do that. but that is your ultimate responsibility to do that and to pay for the application. It's your responsibility to match Naviance and Common App, and I'm going to talk about that in a few slides. Again, back to the official score reports from College Board for SAT or ACT. If your college requires letter recommendations, you have to request those, and you have to request your transcript. So this is a list of things that you guys have to do. So how do you do that? A lot of this is done via Naviance. So Naviance is a web-based resource that we subscribe to for post-high school career and college planning. The data on Naviance is specific to Cheltenham and its graduates, so it's not countrywide. It's really focused on the demographics of Cheltenham. And this is where you're going to make all of your requests for documents to be sent other than the application itself. So students can access Naviance from the cheltenham.org, go to the high school students and click on Naviance. Once you do that, I suggest you bookmark it because you're going to be visiting this site regularly. Their login username would be their Cheltenham thing. It's either 24lcohen or it might be 24lcohen@cheltenham.org. It just depends how it was set up. So try either option. If you don't remember your password, there is a button there that says forgot password and it will reset it for you. It is your Cheltenham email address. It is not a private email address on Naviance. If it is not working, please stop into the counseling office. Any counselor or Mrs. Sutherland can reset it for you. It takes about 2 seconds and we can get it there to where you need it. But it's really critical that you know how to log on accurately to Naviance. So one thing I really like is this Compare Me option. Remember I talked about making sure you have a range of schools? Under College Compare, there's a category in Naviance called Research Colleges. And under that, there's something called College Compare. And it will put your statistics. And if you took SATs, they will be there. And then you can add colleges to compare up here. And I just added a few, this student just has a few colleges added in. So I just want to talk a little bit about what this means. So this first line is your student. So this is their weighted GPA. If they had SAT scores, they would be here. These are schools that student has expressed interest in. This is the average SAT score from Cheltenham. If you see for Morgan State, the average GPA was a 3.16. This student had a 3.19, which is greater than Morgan. So they got a little green check mark next to that GPA, meaning that their statistics are greater than Morgan's averages. Keep in mind with a range like a 3.16 to a 3.19, they're very similar. So it's kind of statistically insignificant. All the way over on the right under acceptance, you can see that we've had 186 students have applied to Morgan State from Cheltenham over the last 5 years, and 92 have been accepted. So roughly half students who apply, it's about a 50% acceptance for Cheltenham students. And then you can enter any schools you want. You can see the averages. Temple is a 4.03 weighted GPA. And Westchester, the 3.56. So they are a red X because this student does not have those statistics. Does not mean they cannot apply. They could have other things that they can offer to the campus. You never know what else they're looking for. But you do just want to make sure that you don't have all red X's on here. And if that's in fact the case, come talk to us and we will help you generate some other schools of possible interest. Come on, why are we not moving? Sorry. There we go. So this is again a screen, 2 screens from Naviance. Remember we talked about the release of records form? If you have not submitted that, you're going to see this big green button that says your parent guardian must give you consent for you to request transcripts. You cannot request a transcript until we have that on file. If you have submitted that and it's logged in, you will see this screen down here on the bottom and see here now this request transcripts button is there where it was not up here before. So if you don't have this big green sign that says this, you're in good shape. If you do have it, we need you to submit your release of records. We will not send a transcript without that. So please make sure to get that signed and sent back in as soon as possible. We talked a lot about matching your Common Application with Naviance. So Common Application and Naviance have a relationship where they communicate with each other. So once you enter colleges in your Common Application, you can then allow Common App and Naviance to communicate, and all of the schools will automatically come into your Naviance account for you. However, if you see back here, up here under colleges, and that we're working under colleges I'm applying to now, there's this button here. I just blew it up over on this side. It looks like you are not able to apply to Common App schools. You need to match your Common App account. So here are the steps in red that you have to do. The first thing you're going to do is log on to your Common App, and you're going to click on one of the tabs that say My Colleges. Just select one college. You only have to do this one time for all colleges, and you're going to click on Recommenders and FERPA. So FERPA means it's a federal act that gives students their privacy and their rights to their own educational records. Federal educational records, I forget what PA stands for. But basically, just so you know, once your student turns 18 and goes to college, unless they give parents permission, students own full access to their transcripts and their grades and their finances and everything having to do with college. Students, we highly recommend that you share your information with your parents, especially if your parents are paying the bill for college. They then have earned a right to access this. And while it's not like PowerSchool at all, parents will then be able to check in and see the finances and check in and look at your transcripts and your grades. But that is a conversation that you will have with them once you apply to college. But what FERPA means now is it's giving us right for the letters of recommendations. So in this particular case, FERPA has to do with letters of recommendations that are sent from the high school to the college. And in this section on the Common App, you need to decide if you want to waive your rights to see your letters of recommendations or if you do not want to waive your rights. And I want to spend a few minutes explaining what that means. We will certainly never tell you what to do, but we are going to share some facts and some information about this. So if you do not waive your rights, what that is saying is that under certain circumstances, you will be eligible to see your letters of recommendations that teachers or counselors have written for you. And at first that sounds, okay, that's kind of cool. I'd like to see what they have to say. But recognize that a college will see that you are not waiving your rights, and that may raise a red flag that makes them wonder, what are they afraid of? Why do they want to see that? The other thing that's really important to understand is that there's only very specific situations whereby you can see your letters of recommendation. You cannot see your letters of recommendation if you are not accepted to a school. So if you do not get accepted to a college, you cannot call them up and say, I want to see my letters of recommendation. Legally, you are not entitled to them. The only time you are entitled to your letters of recommendation are if you are accepted to the college and you actually attend the college. Then you have access to your letters. I am going to tell you, once you are accepted and you attend the college, you are not going to be interested in what your 11th grade history teacher wrote in your letter of recommendation. So our advice is that you waive your rights to your recommendations. You will not ever have access to them, but again, the only time you would have access is if you are accepted and attending the school. So our recommendation is that you waive your rights. Again, that is totally your decision. Once you do it for one school and you submit an application, you cannot go back and change that. So really think closely about that decision. But you will have to follow some prompts here, and you will have to say whether you waive your rights or not waive your rights. Once you finish that, there is a section that says invite recommenders. Do not click on that. So because we use Naviance, we do not use recommenders in Common App. And if you do that, that messes up your teachers and they're not going to be able to send your letter of recommendation. So make sure you are not inviting recommenders via the Common App. So once you complete the FERPA, you do it for one school, it continues for all of the schools. Then you come back to your Naviance account and you're going to click on this match account. You're going to log into your Common App, and you are going to then see that all of the colleges that you added to your Common application are now in your Naviance account. We are unable to send transcripts if you do not match your accounts. This sounds confusing, and it kind of is. So we are very willing to work with your students and help them with this. So just have them stop in and we can work with them and do this very easily. All right, so if we're using Naviance, how do we add colleges and request transcripts if we're not using Common App? Once you click on colleges I'm applying to and you have signed your parent release, there's this bright red button with a plus sign. You'll click on that and then you'll be able to add colleges. Once you are in your Naviance account, you can see there are some schools that use Common App, and you see this submission type. It says a little CA with a line through it. That means that this student is not using Common App to apply to Temple. If you see a question mark, that means you have not indicated what type of application, and we will not be able to send your application correctly if you don't correct that. We as counselors will double check this, but we want you to be aware and to do this as also. Okay. And then how to request a transcript. You really do not want to do this until after you have applied to college. So once you've submitted a college application and on Common App, while you're filling out multiple information, you can submit one college at a time. So say you have decided to apply to your first school. And so you submit the application, then you're going to come into Naviance. Up here, you're going to hit this button that says request transcripts. Down here, you're going to select initial transcript because this is the first transcript we're sending. You're going to click on this drop-down menu here that says, where are you sending it? And you're going to click on the school, and then you're going to hit request transcript. And then we as the counselors will get a notification that you have asked that we send the transcript to the college. We ask for a 2-week turnaround from the time you request the transcript until we process them and send them. Please understand at this time of year, when we don't have a lot of requests coming in, we can knock them out in a day or two. But if we're waiting coming as we get closer to Thanksgiving and it gets really busy, it sometimes can take up to 2 weeks. So if there is an October 15th deadline, please do not wait until October 14th to request your transcript, which means you do have to get your application in before you submit your transcript request. And as you can see here on Naviance, we can see on Common App whether or not you've submitted your application. So we want to make sure that all applications are submitted prior to requesting the transcripts. All right, so teacher recommendations. Many colleges are looking for teacher recommendations. Many colleges are not looking for them. You want to find out how many letters of that colleges are willing to accept. And then you want to think about some teachers at Cheltenham High School who you have had that could write you a really strong letter of recommendation. We want you to go as current as you can. So as if you start with 11th grade. Excuse me, start with your 11th grade teachers, see if there were any teachers that you developed a really good academic relationship with. These do not have to be teachers that are in classes that you receive straight A's, because oftentimes in a class that you got straight A's, it's an easy class. You didn't really need to participate. You might be just sitting, doing your work. It just came easily for you. That teacher is not going to have a whole lot of things to say other than student did really well in my class. But if you have a class that you earned maybe a B, or even if you did earn the A, but you worked hard for it and you met with the teacher and you went for extra help and you participated and you took a leadership role in group projects, that teacher is going to have a lot of really good things to say about you. So think hard about the teachers that you're looking for. We don't recommend 2 teachers or 3 teachers from the same subject area, if at all possible. We do recommend that if you are interested in majoring in biology, you use a science teacher as one of your letters of recommendation. You can also ask a club sponsor or a coach or an employer to write letters as well. But in terms of what colleges are looking for, they definitely need to see an academic teacher or 2, and they will tell you how many they want. And once you enter your colleges on Naviance, you will be able to see how many letters of recommendations each colleges will accept. You want to make sure that in your Naviance, you have added all colleges to colleges I am applying to before you ask your teachers to write a letter. So even if you haven't applied to college, your teacher can still write their letter and send it. That's okay. You need to ask the teacher first. So stop into the room if you haven't talked to them already. Do it in person before you request them on Naviance. Stop in and say, hey, I had you last year for environmental science. Would you be willing to write me a letter of recommendation? They're going to tell you, sure. They're going to say, I'm sorry, I'm at max, I can't write anymore. Whatever they answer for you. Then you're going to come on to Naviance and request them, but you must have that conversation with your teachers first. Do not, as I said, request them via Common App. Keep in mind that teachers are doing this on their own free time. This is not part of their job description. They don't have to do this, but certainly they are willing to help our students. We have many teachers that write 10, 15, 20 letters a year. And teachers put in a lot of time and heart and soul into making these a personal, really strong letter for you because they want to help you. They want to make sure you get accepted to college. And if there's anything they can say or do, that's awesome. And they're willing to do it. So what we're asking you to do is once you've been accepted to a school, follow up with your teacher. Oftentimes you don't have them anymore, so you don't see them, but you want to stop in, shoot them a quick email, let them know, send them a thank you note, let them know where you've been accepted. Teachers love to hear from you guys about that. So please keep that in mind. All right, so how do you request letters of recommendation? Again, on the home screen of Naviance, there's a button, there's a tab for colleges. Applying to colleges, you'll see this button, letter of recommendation, super easy. You click on that. You're going to click on this button that says add request. When you do that, you're going to get this thing here where it says select a teacher, and every teacher at Cheltenham High School is listed in there. I've also have included in there Miss Stark, who was the AP biology teacher last year. I know she has agreed to write some letters of recommendation, so her personal email is included. So if Miss Stark was someone you were interested in asking, she is available for you as well. This student doesn't have recommendations, and so I couldn't show you, but here in this is where you'll select which colleges you want each teacher to send to. Where it says include a personal note, just write a quick thanks so much, I really appreciate it, and submit request. That will then generate an email to your teachers to let them know that you've requested them to do a college application or a letter of recommendation for their college application. Again, make sure all of the colleges that you're applying to are in your colleges you're applying to list before you do this. Because what happens is, once your teacher logs on and submits their applications, and then you add another college, they don't have any way to know that you've done that. So then you would have to stop in and let them know. So you want to make sure that any college that you are thinking about applying to, or most likely applying to, you can go on and add them onto that tonight or this weekend. So then you can ask your teachers to write the recommendation. In addition to teacher recommendations, so you will not recommend a counselor, you will not request a counselor in the letters of recommendation, but some colleges are also looking for a counselor recommendation. And these letters are less focused on academics and more on you as a whole student. So that's where we'll talk about some of the clubs and activities you've been involved in. If there's any personal situations that you've shared with us that you want us to write, this is where we would do that. Some examples would be, maybe you were really sick with mono and you missed a month of school in your sophomore year, so your grades dipped a little bit. Or you really wanted to take AP physics class, but it wasn't offered at Cheltenham the year you wanted to take it. Things like that are really good for us to know. And we're going to find out about you. If we know that, that's great. But if a college requires a counselor recommendation, we do have a survey in Naviance. It's under the About Me tab, and that needs to be filled out. There's 7 questions. We do not need that to be grammatically correct. You can write it in bullets. You can write phrases. We just need the information. We don't care what format it's in. We just need the information. Obviously, we also pour our heart and soul into writing really strong letters for you, so they do take some time. If a college does not require a counselor recommendation, it's very easy for us to send out transcripts. If it requires the counselor letter, it does take us a little more time. So again, we do ask for 2-week notice like you do with teachers. if your school requires a counselor letter. So as I just said, what will be sent? We ask for 2 weeks. We send your transcript. That will include your senior year schedule. If for some reason, after your transcript is sent, you drop a class or you change classes, it is your responsibility to notify the college. Keep in mind that they will get subsequent transcripts, and if it is different from what you had in the beginning of the year, they could rescind your acceptance. So you want to make sure that happens. We will include what's called a school profile. Every high school puts this together. It's a 2-page document, and it is available on our website. We are in the process and should be updated by tomorrow. The most current profile for this year. The profile is a 2-page document that gives colleges who are not familiar with Cheltenham an overview of us. So it talks about some of our community, the size of the community, the size of the high school, talks about the AP and honors classes. It explains our grading systems, our students' average SAT scores, AP scores, all kinds of information that a college would need so they can understand Cheltenham. And so they can put you in the context of what your transcript looks like. We will also send with the transcript and the school profile if the counselor's letter recommendation is required. So those 3 things will go in one submission through Naviance. Then teachers send their letters separately, again through Naviance, once they finish them. It is your responsibility. Once you have applied to college, your college will send you an email giving you information how to set up a portal on their account. You want to make sure you're doing that. You want to log on because that's where they're going to tell you what's missing, what you still need to do, and so forth. So make sure you're checking your emails. Do not use your Cheltenham email for college applications. So when you're setting up the Common App, do not use your Cheltenham email address, use a personal email address. If you set it up already with your Cheltenham email address, come in and we can help you change it, because as you guys well know, many things are blocked from Cheltenham, and we don't want you to miss out on some communication from your colleges. We do send grades. So many colleges will request first marking period grades. You will get an email from the college that says, we want to see your first marking period grades. You will then come into our office or send us an email and we will send them. We send your first semester grades. So they will have a first semester grade and your GPA will be recalculated based on the grades of your first semester courses. They are automatically sent to every school that you applied to using Common App. If there is another school that wants them but's not on Common App, you need to come in and ask us. If you did a phenomenal job on your first semester and a school is not Common App and they don't ask for it, come and ask us to send it anyway, because it will only strengthen your application. Many schools are now moving to what's called self-reporting for both academic history and your scores. We will be getting to you guys an unofficial transcript, so you will have a copy of that. If you need it today or tomorrow, send us an email and we can email it to you, but they will be coming to you very shortly. Many of our very popular schools, Pittsburgh, Penn State, Rutgers, South Carolina, you will get an email from them, and they're going to ask you then to click on a button called the SRAR, Self-Reporting Academic Records, and you're then going to have to enter every class and every grade that you took from 9th grade up through 11th grade and your 12th grade classes. You will have already done this on the Common App, so it seems very redundant, but they are expecting you to do it. Do not lie and change your grades, because once you are accepted, we will, once you decide that you're attending a school, we send the transcript. And if they are different from what you entered, that's a concern, and they again could rescind. So make sure you're representing exactly what is on your transcript on the self-reporting report. It's very tedious to fill in. So again, if you need help, come into our office and we can help you with it. Lunch and Learn, once that finally begins, hopefully next week, will be a great opportunity to do that. So let's talk a little bit about money. Colleges cost a lot of money. Scholarships, please know that most financial aid and most scholarship money comes from the college itself. Most of your merit money is money that they're giving you just for being a great student that does not have to be paid back, is directly from the college. However, there are a fair number of private scholarships that are available for students. As we get them, we put them on Naviance. Some colleges have school-specific scholarships. So you can Google, for instance, University of Pittsburgh scholarships, and it'll take you to their scholarship page. Westchester University scholarships, and it'll take you to their scholarship page. Fastweb.com is a great resource for scholarships as well. Another thing to really consider is some local places. Parents, if you have a job, sometimes companies provide scholarships for students, so ask for that. If you have something unusual about you, like you're a twin, Google scholarships for twins, scholarships for students with who are left-handed, scholarships for first-generation students. That means your parents didn't go to college. There's lots of scholarships available. They do take some time and energy to research and to search for, but definitely put some time in. It can be well worth it. If a scholarship needs a transcript, please do not add them to Naviance. Instead, email your counselor and provide the address or stop into our office. So financial aid night. So we have, in order to apply for financial aid, you have to fill out what's called the FAFSA. It stands for Federal Application or Free Application for Federal Student Aid. All students and parents have to complete a FAFSA. It will take into account your tax information from the year 2022, because you guys are 24, so 2 years prior, so your 2022 tax information, both your parents' income and also students if they worked. FAFSA is in the process of being overhauled and redone. So if you have older siblings that you've done the process, apparently it's going to look very different. We have not seen it yet. They are rolling it out not until December. Typically it is rolled out in October, but they have pushed off and delayed it until December. So we're going to have offering to parents. It's going to be on Zoom October 5th at 6:30. We'll send out a flyer shortly. This is presented by a financial aid officer from Arcadia University. It's the same information as all financial aid. She's just going to be doing an overview of the financial aid process in general. But it's really helpful to listen to it, and especially with the new changes coming to FAFSA, there is going to be, I understand from what I've read, some much easier way to retrieve your 2022 tax information, but that's a really good opportunity to come and learn about the process itself. And then we have what's called a FAFSA completion night. So the FAFSA is the actual form that has to be submitted. As I said, it's not going to be available until December. So in January 18th at 6:30 at the high school, this will not be a Zoom, and this will not be a presentation. This will be the opportunity for you to come in and bring your documents and sit down and actually fill out the FAFSA. And so if you have specific questions and direct questions, there will be somebody from the Pennsylvania Education Association, Financial Education Association, who can help you with the information. She'll be there, and you will be able to leave the night having submitted your FAFSA form, which is a huge relief. So if this process is very daunting and intimidating to you, look for information on this. We will send a sign-up link because we need to make sure we don't have too many parents coming. And we'll also send you a list of exactly what you'll need to bring, and we'll help you fill out your FAFSA right then and there on the spot. Once you complete the FAFSA, that is sent to the government and federal government, and they determine how much money you are eligible to potentially receive, and then they disseminate that to the colleges your student is applying to. The colleges then are responsible for putting together a financial aid package. You will receive that from the college at the time of acceptance, or if it's rolling admissions, once that process begins, typically in March, and they will show you how much of money they're going to be giving you, how much you're going to be able to borrow, whether you're going to be eligible for work on campus, and so forth. But that information will come from the college, but that will only be generated by completing the FAFSA. Before filling out the FAFSA, you're going to need what's called a Federal Student Aid ID. You can do that now. Both you need one and the students need one. So that does take a few days to fill out, and we will send reminders to that once we get more details and specifics about the new process and procedure for the FAFSA. All right, seniors, second semester, you want to continue focusing on your academics. You want to avoid that disease called senioritis. It can be very debilitating. You want to make sure you're coming to school. You want to make sure you're going to classes and you're doing your work. Recognize that all colleges will receive a copy of your final transcript at the end in June after you graduate. We have seen over the years, colleges send letters to students because we get copied on them, asking to explain why their grades went down to D's and F's. So if you typically get A's and B's and you drop down to B's and 1C, that's not going to be a concern for a college. But if you drop down to all C's and D's and F's, that is going to be a concern. So while we get that second semester might be a little bit easier, it's not as easy as you would like it to be. So please keep that academic focus on. Again, you're going to need to request mid-year grades if you didn't apply Common App. Most students will go back, and after they've been accepted, they will narrow it down to a few schools, and you can go visit the colleges again, just to check them out, make sure that's where you want to go. You're going to need to send a deposit to secure your housing, to be able to start picking classes. All colleges have a May 1st for a final decision. That's National College Decision Day. But keep in mind that some colleges do housing based on when you deposit. So if you know in just December that you're definitely going to go to a college, you want to send in the deposit. Most deposits are non-refundable, but it definitely, in some cases, help you get better housing. But you definitely do not have to make a decision until May 1st. All right, we are now, Mr. Kaufman is going to enter the, turn on the question and answer time where you can raise your hand. Once you raise your hand, he will call on you and you can actually have the mic on and you can ask questions specifically. Mr. Kaufman, go for it.
There are no raised hands.
No raised hands. So I either gave them a lot of good information or they're so overwhelmed they don't even know what to ask.
No, we got one. We got one.
Good.
Hang on 1 second.
Thank you, Michelle.
Hello, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing well, thank you. So quick question. For SAT optional, is it true that in order to get merit scholarship that they need to submit their SAT?
I have not seen that in my experience. I see on forums parents talking about that, but I have not had that experience at all with any of the colleges that I've had students apply to.
Okay.
That's a question, though, you could certainly ask the college, but I have not seen that. Dr. Trandor?
So I have to speak from personal experience. My son is a current freshman and we chose score optional and that did not impact his merit scholarship.
Okay, great. All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a question here. It says, what is the maximum weighted GPA a student could have?
So we don't have a maximum GPA. Our weighted scale is a 4.0 weighted scale. So we do not rank, as you probably are aware, but we do not have a maximum GPA either. So when colleges ask, we report it as a 4.0 weighted scale. And they know then that AP and honors classes are giving higher rank, but there is no absolute top that a student can have. Kevin, I see another hand. Oh, a bunch of hands coming.
Hi there. Can you hear us?
We can.
Okay, cool. So our son's counselor is Miss Vargas, and we understand out for a little bit and that she is expected back. But he is planning on applying one place early action and one place early decision. And we know that you guys need 2 weeks notice. Can you give us a better sense about whether she'll be back and available to write those recommendations in time for us to make those deadlines?
I can't speak in definites, but it is my understanding that yes, she will be back.
Okay, what's sort of our deadline for if we haven't seen her come back and it isn't coming together before we get sort of transferred over to somebody else to write
I
a
would go 2 weeks, 2 weeks and 2 days but prior to the deadline and then reach out to me and I can work on that with you.
Okay. Thank you, appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Hi, Miss Isabel.
Hi, I'm trying to find out, like, for somebody like me who don't use a computer, the documentations you were speaking of to have signed off for by the parent. Is there any way that I could come into the school and get help, like if I was one of the kids?
So yeah, I would say, are you talking about for the FAFSA, for the financial piece?
Yeah, for all of it that requires my signature.
So the only thing that really will require your signature is the financial aid piece.
Okay.
And then I would recommend that you come to the FAFSA night in January.
Okay.
And stay in touch with me and I can make sure that you're registered for it, make sure you have a list of what you need. You know how to reach me, so we can do it that way, but definitely come that night. If you don't have a computer, you could bring your son's computer, or we can even lend you one if you needed it, and we can help you log on and do it right that night. So it's not daunting for you.
Okay, and another question. So I thought that I heard you say something about in the beginning that it was something that needed to be signed off on for basically
Yes.
for Dante to be able to do. So a
Yes.
parent release.
Yep. So he can
So-
come into the counseling office and get a hard copy of it, take it home, have you sign it, and then he can bring it back to me.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. While you're adding the next one, I see a question. I'm doing dual enrollment this year. That's awesome. Oh, Dr. Trandor is answering. How is that accounted for in my application and transcript? So what that means is once you complete the course, actually, before you complete the course, it will list on your transcript that we send dual enrollment. So they will know you're taking a class. And then once you complete the class, the course will be listed by the name of the college's course, the name of the college, and the grade earned. That grade will also be factored into your grade point average, and it goes into your grade point average as AP status. Kevin, you want more hands up?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep. Hi there. How are you?
Good. Sorry, I wanted to ask on dual enrollment. Do we need to send any information to the school? So my son just finished one over the summers. Is there anything that we need to do to get the school to include it in its transcript? That is one.
Did he take it through Marshall College?
Yes.
Yes. So we've already received the grades from Marshall and they are already on his transcript.
Awesome. Okay, so then the second question has to do with recommendation. His counselor is also Miss Vargas. We have a deadline for 26th of September. Where you don't have the school on Naviance, what do you need to do? So this is a QuestBridge application. It's not on Naviance.
Okay.
Do we need to come to the office or how does that work?
I would have your student come in, and because of QuestBridge, I don't believe Mr. Turan has worked with that. So you can have him come in and ask for me, Mrs. Cohen, or Dr. Trandor, and we can assist him with that.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. I see a question here that says, so many websites, where is it online? The Cheltenham website would have Naviance on there. If you go to the Cheltenham High School and click on students, you'd be able to access Naviance that way. Someone wants to know who their counselor is. So let me pull that screen back up. Hold on. So here's the screen that will show you who your student's counselor is. In the parentheses are the last names, so that would match up with who your student is. Kevin, you got another question?
Hi, this is Kelly Funk. Can you hear me?
We can, hi.
Hi, thank you for all the information. I just had a question. Will there be any college fairs or days where colleges will be at Cheltenham and the kids will have an opportunity for like an instant decision or to meet with counselors and speak with them in person?
Great question, yes. So we do have the college reps coming where they can speak to them in person. We are not doing a college fair this fall. Our feedback from reps is that they prefer the spring. So we'll do it in the spring of next year, but we will be having instant decision days. The counselors will be meeting on Monday to put that process in place. For those of you who don't know what instant decision is, some colleges are willing to come to the high school and meet with students individually. We will provide them a copy of their transcript, and many students get accepted and even offered financial scholarship money right there on the spot at the high school, hence the name Instant Decision. So yes, look for emails. I will be sending out emails on that, and I assume it will also be in Mr. DeAndrea's Sunday meeting too, but that should be coming. They typically begin in November because September and October, the college representatives are visiting the schools doing information sessions. So November is when they typically start their instant decisions.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. If you're taking SAT in November and you want to do early action, can you send it later to help your chances? You would, depending on when the actual deadline for the early action is, if it's October 30th, the November scores typically come out a few weeks later. So I would say send it. They may still be able to use it. They might not though. So keep that in mind. I need some colleges. I don't understand this question that's typed here. Some colleges had governor's scholarship. Yes. So again, to search for scholarships on college website, you would type in the name of the college and scholarships, and that will then show you what scholarships they offer you. Any hands, Kevin?
Hi.
Hi there.
I had a question. My son, he's in the I guess it's the dual enrollment with Eastern. Is that considered dual enrollment also?
So we don't put it on our transcript as dual enrollment.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm going to make a note of that and find out because I'm not sure why we don't. So let me work on that. And then if you want to call me back or call your counselor back a little bit, you can, we can get you an answer on that one.
Okay. I also had a question. So he was absent a lot last year, just with being sick. How would that affect his application process?
So nowhere on the application does it ask for attendance, and it does not list it on the transcript either. However, if you feel that that did impact his grades, you could include that or speak to his counselor and ask them to write a letter and explain that. Also, there's typically a space on the common application, on the college applications, that will say, is there anything else that you need to explain? And he could write a brief paragraph or two explaining that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I just wanted to find out, I guess I didn't find out until, after the fact last spring about, the college fair. So I wanted to find out like what options we have, or what options my kid has for getting information about schools, and what would be appropriate given her transcript and scores for her to look at applying to.
So a good place to start is on Naviance because there is a college search called Supermatch. And you can enter her scores and you can enter all kinds of criteria like location and size of schools. And, you know, if you're looking for any specific major, any specific sport, and it will generate a list that way. There's also a really good scholarship search on College Board called Big Future.
Mm.
And so that's also another way to learn that information. In addition, I just Googled it, there is a National College Fair on Saturday, October the 14th at the Convention Center. And there are a ton of schools, and I can send out some information via email to families about this tomorrow or Friday, and give you some information about that as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. I'm just making notes here to myself, so sorry my eyes are looking like I'm typing because I am. Any other hands? Yep, looks like we have more hands.
Can you
go
hear
ahead.
me?
We can, hi.
Hi. My question had to do with the FAFSA. Now you're saying that everyone has to submit a FAFSA. So is
Well, that's
that
only for financial aid. That's for financial aid, yes.
okay? So if you have a trust paying for the tuition, you do not have to, submitting the FAFSA is not what you were saying is it's a new process, but that does not apply if you're covered, correct?
So FAFSA is not a new process. They're just redoing the process.
Got
But
it.
if you do not need financial aid, then yes, you do not have to fill out the FAFSA.
Okay,
The
thank
only
you.
thing I would caution is there are some colleges that do require FAFSA for merit and scholarship money.
Right.
So
And
if
you
there's a chance that your kid could get that, you can just call the office of the financial aid office of that college and say, do I need to complete the FAFSA for merit money? If they say no, then you don't have to bother filling it out.
And just FYI, that whole process where you all helped submit, put together the FAFSA application in-house with help at in real time at CHS, that was awesome a couple years ago.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And anyone who's still on, please listen to that because it always shocks us that not more people don't come and take advantage of it. It's an amazing opportunity and it can be nerve-wracking, especially if it's your first time doing it. And so it's really nice to have that expert hand helping you. So thank you for that.
Ms. Cohen, there's a question here about the records release form. So online under in the counseling, under the counseling department site, it's only available for print. Is the online version of the form available?
It is not available online anymore. We lost our free subscription, and so we are not able to do it. So just have your child stop in and grab one, and they can bring it back the next day for us.
Okay, so there you go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, hi.
Okay, so for the merit scholarship,
Mhm.
how would they get the merit scholarship if they go SAT optional? Is it with their weighted GPA, or is it through need as far as financial aid is concerned, or it just depends on the school?
It totally depends on the school.
Okay.
Totally depends on the school. Some schools tie merit money into need. Some of them do it just based on pure merit and nothing to do with finances.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. So there is a question here. How does FAFSA work for international parents with US citizens child? The FAFSA, as long as the child is a citizen, it is my understanding that you can still apply for the financial aid through FAFSA.
As long as the child has or even a green card status as a permanent resident, they're eligible for financial aid.
Right.
Ms. Cohen, there are no more raised hands.
Okay. Well, we can hang around for another few minutes, but we've been on for quite a while. You're probably spinning with your mind. Again, remember this information will all be on our website. And by tomorrow morning, I'll send it over to you, Mr. Kaufman, for publication. And as always, if you have questions, please reach out to us. We can help you in any way we can. We're here to help you. This process is daunting. Both Dr. Tran and I have put 2 kids through college. We are still alive and standing and fairly functioning. We didn't kill each other, our children. There were moments that it almost happened, right, Doc?
Yes.
But we all got through it and we're all living proof. So you can do it as well. So thanks for joining. Have a great night and go Birds tomorrow.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.